Saul Kirsch here with Double Alpha Academy, and in this video I'd like to go over in detail how to use the new Double Alpha Edge shot timer. I'll show you all the menu options, which presets are available to you, and how to get the most out of your Edge timer. So take the time to familiarize yourself with all of the features and capabilities of this unique timer and enjoy it on the range. Okay, so once you unbox your new timer, the first thing you'll want to do is insert the batteries. The timer is powered by the CR123A batteries, and you have the choice of using either single-use or rechargeable batteries with this timer. We also offer a custom carry case, which includes a compartment to carry an extra spare set of batteries, just to ensure you're not caught out on the range. The battery compartment is on the back side of the timer, and there is a latch holding it closed and watertight. Push down on that latch to remove the cover. Insert both batteries as indicated. Push down on the latch, push the cover in, and it clicks and locks into place. The timer itself is IP65 waterproof and dustproof. To review some of the features on the external side of the timer, you have the top display, which will give you only the overall time. The two activation buttons on the top, and you can configure these to be left or right for the start button and the mute button. The front panel gives you all of the other controls. On the back side of the timer, this is the speaker opening, and while it does appear to be very open to the elements, the compartment inside of the speaker is watertight, so it does not allow moisture to enter into the timer body. On the top you can see the built-in flashlight. This can be used for viewing targets, but can also be used for a visual start, and the microphone is centered at the top end of the timer. You can see it over there. To power on the unit, press and hold the power button for 2 seconds. The flash screen appears and your battery level is indicated very clearly. Both displays have a backlight feature which is powered on whenever you push any button on the timer, and it will automatically power down while if no shots are detected and no keystrokes are detected, as a means to save battery power. When the timer is turned on, it automatically enters into the run screen. This is the screen that you would typically use when timing shots. The top button, by default, the one on the right side, is illuminated green, and this is now your start button. If I push on that button, the timer starts a default 3-second countdown, beeps with the particular default setting, and the flashing icon of the microphone on the top indicates to you that the timer is now recording shots. If a loud noise is picked up, and I can simulate that by clicking on the belt clip, you can see that the main display displays the overall time, the last split, and scrolls down the last shots which are recorded. This is the main run screen. At any time you can enter the review screen by clicking on the button here to the right, indicated by the review, and at that point you can see all of the shots that were recorded in this current string. Or using the arrows to navigate, you can scroll to the right and look at previous strings which are recorded and saved. You'll notice that with every string you can see the individual times of each shot, and also the split times between shots are there for you to display. Hitting that button again will return to the run screen, and you'll note that the timer is still running, indicated by the clock on the top and the flashing microphone. So the timer itself continues to record even when you enter into the review screen. The top left button, the opposite button to the start, is your mute button. Hitting that button will make it start flashing red, and despite the fact that the clock is still running, the timer will no longer record any shots. This is particularly useful for range officers. When the shooter comes to the end of his stage, the mute button can be pressed to ensure that the sounds or the slide racking does not record as a shot. The large button on the front, which is marked with a flashlight and the light, controls the flashlight. The flashlight is built into the back of the timer, and as you hold that button in, it illuminates whatever it is that you want to illuminate, usually score lines on a target. This very bright LED can also be used as part of the start signal, which can be useful for a visual start. We're going to take a closer look at all of the settings and features which are available on this timer. You enter by pressing onto the settings menu, and everything is available in a one-layer menu. Now let's start in looking at the first features which are above the black line. This area here is the preset of the timer. You do have 5 presets, so any set of information that you store in this section, you can save in 5 different presets. Using the up arrow will bring you into the preset selection, where you can then go to the left and select 5 different presets and store different settings. Those settings can include the microphone sensitivity level. There are 16 levels available. Default is 9, which is mid-range, all the way down to minimum, which will be extremely unsensitive, up to 16 for airsoft. 15 setting is the maximum. When you're using it at maximum, the timer itself is ultra sensitive, so any impact on the housing can be picked up as shots. Typically, for most calibers, you'll be using it more in the 8 to 12 range. The echo window is a feature that eliminates any shots being detected within this window. So if a shot is recorded and the echo setting is set to 1/10 of a second, no follow-up shot will be recorded within 1/10 of a second. This is useful for eliminating echoes on ranges where no other solution is possible. However, the echo filter, which is a new feature never seen before on a timer, is a sophisticated algorithm. This is user controlled. You can set different frequencies, and this helps to eliminate echoes, which are typically very long rolling echoes on indoor ranges, which might interfere with shot detection. By default, it's on 500. You can leave it there at first, but if you do struggle to clean up echoes on an indoor range, try to adjust that feature and see how it improves your shot detection. Your start delay. Start delay by default is 3 seconds, but simply using the side arrows, you can change that down to 0 if you want an instant start, or go up to as long a delay as you wish. The random is a feature which adds time to the start delay. So if I wanted my random start to be between 2.4 seconds and say 3.4 seconds, I've now achieved that by having a start delay of 2.4 and then random from 2.4 to 3.4. That'll give me a random countdown now in that range. Using the side arrow, I can eliminate that, and now I have a fixed start of 2.4 seconds, or any delay that I choose to set. The buzzer volume. There are 3 different volumes available, high, medium, and low, and you can also go to buzzer off if you want to have a silent start, or if you want to only use the flashlight start feature. The buzzer tone gives you a choice of 3 different frequencies, and you can experiment with both the volume and the tone to find what offers you the best performance. If you're dry firing at home, you might want to use a very low volume. If you're training with a group, you might want to go to the highest volume, highest frequency, which will give you over 125 dB, the loudest beep ever recorded for any shot timer. The flashlight start is optional. You can turn it on and off, and it will add the flashlight in conjunction with the beeps. This will be true for the start beep as well as the par beeps. You can use this for a visual start, or you can use it as an aid to shooters who are hard of hearing, and you want to give them that option of seeing the light as an indicator of the beep. Backlight, you can determine whether you want to use it. If you turn it off, the backlight will not come on. This is a good way to save power. If you're using the timer outdoors, the backlight really is not visible, so you can turn off the backlight, save batteries, and have the batteries last longer on the range. Your par settings. The timer gives you the option to fix 5 different pars. As default, they're all off, but any par you add, I'll add a 1.5 second par, and then after that, I'll set my second par to be 1 second. This will give me an additional display on the start screen over here, which shows me that I have 2 pars set, that my first par is 1.5, and as the timer performs, it will show me which par is being activated. And you can see that there were no beeps, but there was a flashing light on the background, and that's because in my settings, I have the buzzer volume set to off, so I'm going to change that to medium, and I'm going to turn my flashlight start to off, and try that again. You can see the pars. And the multiple pars are activated off the same beep. You can set up to 5 pars, and at any time you can clear them all with one press, clear all, and all your pars are gone. The back button to return to the main menu. Pods is a feature that allows you to control the target activation pods. These are set after being paired with the pods, and I will demo this in a separate video to show how to set up the pods and how you'd use them with the shot timer and separately using external activation switches. The Arc Chrono allows you to pair using wireless communication with the double alpha Arc chronograph, and that will give you a display that shows you the shots that are recorded on the chronograph, and if you enter the bullet weight, it'll give you power factor calculations as well. The rate of fire feature, when you enter into it, you don't hit the start button. There's no need for a start button because the RPM is calculated based on the total time between the first and last shot divided by the number of shots. I can immediately simulate that for you simply by creating a number of shots. You can see 7 shots we recorded, which gives me an RPM of 149 rounds per minute. If I introduce another shot now, the RPM drops dramatically because of that long gap between the 7th and 8th shot that we created. That will change the RPM displayed. So this feature is there for you. Anytime you want to reset, press the start button and you can record another string of RPM. To exit from this feature, exit back to the main menu. The walkthrough is a tool that's ideal for range officers to have a countdown feature for the squad to walk through the stage and a limited time. The default is 3 minutes, but you can adjust and change that in increments of 10 seconds to create any delay you want. In order to use this feature from the run screen, press and hold both the left and right buttons, which are also indicated with this little clock icon for that reason. And when you press that, your countdown feature begins. Now this countdown will run. When it reaches just 1 minute, it'll give a beep as a 1 minute warning. When it reaches 0, it'll give a loud repetitive beep to indicate that the walkthrough time is done. When you exit this screen, the feature is immediately eliminated by going back to the normal run screen. Returning to the overview menu, after the walkthrough, we get into the settings of the device. You can enter the device settings by clicking Enter. The first option in the device setting menus is the wireless communication, and this by default is set to off. However, when you power on the unit, automatically it goes on for the first few minutes to check to see if there is a target pod or a chronograph or a tablet that it needs to connect to that it was previously paired with. If it does find that and connect, it remains on. Otherwise, it goes back into off mode in order to reduce consumption. The second feature here allows you to configure which of the top buttons is your start button. Using the left and right arrows, you can switch between the upper and lower buttons in order to select what works best for you. Because this is a user configurable feature, we also incorporate a color LED which indicates with a green light which is that start button. So if you hand the device over to another user, he can immediately be familiar and know where the start button is. You can always enter the menu and switch that. By default, the right button is set to be the start button. You can control the power of the LED, how much it is illuminated, and that again is a setting that you can reduce. If you don't need the full brightness, that will help save battery. Auto power off is a feature that by default is set to 15 minutes, and it will power down the unit if no shots or no keystrokes are detected for 15 minutes. Again, to prevent the timer from being left on and using the batteries unnecessarily. Clearing strings will allow you from here to delete all of the strings that are saved in the review. Factory reset returns everything to the default settings. The device test allows you to test both the microphone's performance, the buzzer test, and to test the various buttons on the unit to make sure all of them are working. The microphone test, when you enter into it, if a shot is recorded, and I'll simulate that again on the back, you can see that the sensitivity level which is recommended for the sound that I am creating now would be to recommend to set the settings at level 11. The level of the microphone that was picked up was 6, and the unit recommends to set the sensitivity at 11 for the noise that I was creating now. This is a useful tool that will allow you to quickly set and find the right level of microphone for best performance. But this also depends on how far away from the shooter you want to pick up those shots. So it's a trial and error, and you test to see with the caliber that you're shooting on the range where you're shooting to get that right. The buzzer test allows you to try the different levels of frequencies and test the different frequencies that are available so you can see what it sounds like. The loudest sound generated would be at the high frequency, at the high tone, which is actually measured at 125 dB, the loudest, which was incorporated into a timer unit. So typically you won't be using that unless working with a group on an outdoor range. The button test allows you to test every keystroke to see that buttons are being recognized. You can see it displays those button numbers, and it's a way to test that all of those buttons are functional and correct. The final option in the device setting is the firmware version. Entering there will show you the version that's installed, 1.39 in this case. That's the current version. Updating is possible, and you do that using the app, which is available on the Apple App Store and the Google Play. It's called the Edge Timer, and there you can download it and update the firmware when new releases are available, as well as use additional features which mirror the run screen, mirror the display, and additional features for the app which will be developed over time. So the navigation, as you can see on this timer, is very intuitive. Anywhere you are in the timer itself, hitting the start button will always take you into the run screen, at which time the timer is ready to run. Hitting that button again starts the countdown, and shot detections are happening, and the timer is recording all shots. The main time that is displayed on the front is also displayed on the top of the timer, which can be handy if you're using the timer hanging on your belt. You can look down and see the time overall that was recorded. And of course, at any time you can enter into that review screen to review all of the split times and individual shot times. Go back to the run screen. You have the option to clear your shots from here. Hitting that button will take you back to the run screen and continue that same string, or press the start button again for a new countdown and a new string.